Hey everyone, what's going on? Welcome back to the channel and yet another day of the horror movie scratch-offs. And today we're talking about one from 1974. And it's one that I haven't seen I was thinking about it yesterday when I pulled this card. It's probably been like over 25 years. And I remember not being the biggest fan of this film when I saw it. To put it in perspective, guys, it was back in the VHS days. This is when the last time I saw this film was on VHS. And again, didn't have the highest opinion of it when I saw it. And that film, of course, is from Tobe Hooper, and it is the introduction of Leatherface, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974. And upon revisiting this film, because it is available on Amazon Prime, if you have Prime, you can catch it on there. It's the 50th anniversary edition of the film. Now, what do I feel? How do I feel about this film after watching it many years, and I mean, like I said, over 25 years later? It's better than I remember it. It is better than I remember. It's still pretty gritty. Like the way it's shot, it's, I mean, it's old school filmmaking. I mean, Tobe Hooper, it's just the way it looks dirty and grimy and just everything. Like you don't, like this kind of film, you probably don't want to really see like nice and clear and cleaned up. Like we've seen, some films get completely just overhauled and completely just cleaned up and nice and glossy and pristine looking. This one, I think it needs that dirty and grimy kind of look to it and feel to it. It picks up basically, we're in Texas. We have Sally and her brother Franklin, and two of them along with three friends are in their van, and they're on their way to their grandfather's grave. They're going to go see their grandfather's gravesite and also visit the house their grandfather had lived in. Now, of course, along the way, things just aren't going to work out too great for this group of friends. But backtracking to the beginning of the film, John Larroquette, from what I was reading, John Larroquette provided like the introduction of how this film is introduced, saying, "Oh, it's a true story, and what you're about to see, and all this stuff." And it's done pretty effectively. I mean, it really is, especially in a time where it's easy to, convince the audience, like, "Hey, this is real," especially the way it looks. It's almost like documentary style, the way this thing is shot and looks. But of course, their friends, they see a hitchhiker. This is a film that kind of made hitchhiking one of those things where people were like, "No, I'm not picking up any hitchhikers." It probably was after this particular film, because of course they pick up somebody, a little dubious character to say the least. And this guy is he might be a little out there. He's definitely a little bit out there. He's in the van and he's taking pictures of all of them. And he's cutting himself right there. I would have freaked out and be like, "God, get this guy out of here! Like, get this guy out of here!" He takes a knife and just like cutting his hand. Yeah, this guy, definitely something not right with this guy. But when they do finally kick him out of the van, he leaves a mark on the van, which will come into play later on in the film. And eventually, it's just this film. A lot of it, I mean, like 83 minutes runtime with this. A lot of the film is spent with them, riding around in this van. Right? That's what a lot of this film is, and and on their way to this, to this gravesite. And eventually, it gets to the point where they need to get gas, and they stop at a gas station. And remember, like I said, the dubious character, he left the mark on the van with his blood, and that kind of signals the guy who runs the gas. Spoiler, guys. There's gonna be some spoilers if you haven't seen the film. Stop the video, go watch the film, then come on back. But the gentleman running the gas station is a relative of this guy, and he marks the van and letting this guy know, "Hey, these are our next victims." So of course, finally they do make their way to the house that their grandfather had, and two friends of Sally's, they go out. There's like, what, we're gonna go explore a little bit and see what we can come across. But of course, they come across the house of Leatherface, him and his family living in this house. And upon going there, like, "No, we'll just go knock on the door. Maybe we can get some gas from them, and then we'll help them out. They help us out, we'll help them out a little bit." But of course, as soon as one of the guys, there's three guys, include Franklin. Franklin, Sally's brother, that's a whole nother conversation. If you've seen the film, he could be a little annoying. That's all for a whole nother conversation. But one of the friends of Sally's, he goes in, and what an introduction to Leatherface. I mean, it's not one of these things that's kind of like ramped up and like, oh, when's it gonna happen? When's it gonna happen? No, Leatherface just comes out and hits this guy right on top of the head and doesn't knock the guy out cold. You see this guy, he is convulsing on the ground as Leatherface just has his way. And this continues to go on throughout the film with Sally's friends. And to the point where we finally get to Sally and her brother Franklin going out looking for their friends. And this is where it gets crazy. We have a scene with Sally running from Leatherface, okay, through these woods. And it feels like it goes on for about a good 10 to 12 minutes, this chase. And it is some of the craziest stuff you're ever going to see in a film. And I think I mean, to the point when Sally finally, where you have, I mean, I know I'm jumping all around, guys, with this one, but it's just a lot of things that come into your. I mean, for a film that's under an hour and a half, there's quite a few things, especially later on in the film. Second half of the film, a lot of things, do happen. This family, this crazy family. They have the grandfather who looks basically almost like a vampire. Okay, this guy is just, yeah. I mean, you think he's dead the way when you first see him, but no, you find out that he's still breathing, he's still kicking, but he is a creepy, creepy looking character who at one point actually sucks the blood out of a cut on Sally's finger. That's why I say he's very like almost like vampire like. It's wild, absolutely wild. And there are a lot of close up shots that you see when the family does capture Sally and they're just around this, dinner table. A lot of close up shots on Sally's face and the fear that Marilyn Burns, who played Sally, the fear in her face. Oh my gosh. Like this girl, not only does she spend a lot of time screaming in the film, but the dread and the terror in her eyes comes through very effectively in this film. A lot of close up shots on her eyes as like she's crying and everything. It's really, really crazy. But I will say, there's not a whole, for a film that's infamous, there's not really a whole lot of blood. You don't really see a lot of chainsaw action going on. I mean, you see the chainsaw, but you don't really see a lot of, just visual effects of him like actually cutting through somebody. You don't see that in the film. I think it's just like the tension that's built up, and the fear and everything of being in this house surrounded by, these tied up and surrounded by these people and Leatherface is Gunnar Hansen, who plays Leatherface. He's enormous. I mean, there is one part he just picks this girl up. This girl's trying to escape, not Sally, but one of her friends. She's trying, and he just one arm, just grabs her and pulls her right back in the house. The dude's massive. He's absolutely enormous, and yeah, I mean, it's one of those films where Leatherface I mean, obviously he doesn't say anything. He makes a lot of squealing type noises and everything, but it's a wild film. I know I bounced kind of like all over the place with this review, but it's just a wild for a film under, like I said, under an hour and a half. It's a crazy and wild film that I feel like it's better than I remember it being. I don't know how many times I'll actually go back and revisit it, but I do appreciate the way Toby Hooper, directed and filmed this. If I do want to eventually maybe pick this up, say like, I know there's 4Ks out there. I'm more interested. I want to see the behind the scenes stuff. That's what I want to see because I've heard some crazy, crazy things about what these people were going through filming this thing. The actors and actresses in this ridiculous heat that was going on in Texas at the time. They had like a unusually hotter summer that year when it was filmed, and just like things like Sally with Marilyn Burns, her just getting complete like just cut up, running through all these branches, trying to get away from Leatherface. Just wild, absolutely wild stuff that might be worth picking up if I can get it at a good price. Maybe it might be worth picking up just for that stuff alone. I definitely might be interested in checking that and hearing more about. Sometimes with these films, it's the behind the scenes stuff that's actually more interesting than the stuff that's actually on film itself. And I think for me, I think this might be one of those films. I mean, yes, it's a seminal horror film. Absolutely. If you're a horror fan, you need to see this one. And like I said, it took me a long time to finally go back and revisit it. But it is better than I remember, and that's a plus. It's definitely better than I remember. So, guys, yeah, Texas Chainsaw Massacre. You can catch it on Amazon Prime, and of course, it's available everywhere, guys. DVD, Blu-ray, 4K. Go retro. Pick up the VHS too. Whatever you guys want to do. I'm telling you right now, if you're a horror fan, you need to at least check it out one time. You gotta do do yourself justice and pick it up or watch it at least one time in your life. Worth watching. So yeah, Leatherface or Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Leatherface is a whole nother movie. Texas Chainsaw Massacre from 1974. So let's go ahead and get into where our next film is going to be for the month of October in the horror movie scratch offs. Go ahead and shuffle up the old cards and see what is on the docket for tomorrow's film. All right, I'm going to go ahead with this one. PG 13, 2018, 90 minutes, sci fi dystopian film. Let's go ahead and scratch it off and see what we are watching tonight. And it is going to be. Okay, all right, guys. And it is directed by Mr. John Krasinski, and it is A Quiet Place. It'd be nice to revisit this one. I've only watched it maybe like twice now, so it'd be nice to revisit A Quiet Place. So, guys, like, subscribe, and comment if you get the chance, and I'll catch you in another episode. Take care.